Welcome, everybody, to the Put Me In Coach, I'm Ready to Scale podcast, featuring real conversations with business coaches, strategic advisors, and growth-minded leaders from around the world who are helping companies navigate the challenges of growth, execution, leadership, and scale. I am your host, Eugene Terk. The goal of this podcast is very simple. Every episode, we want to bring you practical ideas, real-world experiences, and actionable insights that you can take back to your businesses immediately. Whether you are a founder, a CEO, an executive team member, an entrepreneur, or even a coach yourself, this show is dedicated to help you think differently about leadership, accountability, communication, strategy, and execution. One of the things that we have learned over the years is that growth businesses very rarely struggle because of a lack of ideas. Most businesses struggle because of execution. Teams lose alignment, priorities become unclear, accountability slips, and communication breaks down. Even great leaders can sometimes find themselves stuck reacting instead of leading proactively. That's why each episode will focus on real conversations with experienced coaches who are in the trenches every day, helping businesses solve these exact challenges. We will talk about the tools that these coaches use, the frameworks they've implemented, the mistakes they've seen companies make, and the lessons that they have learned while helping organizations grow. This podcast is brought to you by Align. For those of you who are not familiar with Align, it is a strategic planning and execution software platform designed specifically to help leadership teams stay focused and accountable around what matters most. From KPI dashboards and quarterly priorities to daily and weekly huddles, Align helps businesses create clarity, improve communication, and execute more consistently across their organizations. If you would like to learn more about Align, and we encourage you to do so, please visit their website at aligntoday.com. That's ALIGN today.com. And as a listener of this podcast, you can receive 10% off of your new Align subscription by simply entering the promo code podcast when you sign up for an introductory demo of the software. Again, that is promo code podcast for 10% off of your new subscription. Now let's jump into today's conversation, and we hope you enjoy it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Put Me In Coach, I'm Ready to Scale podcast. Again, I'm your host, Eugene Terk, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Charlie James. Charlie, it's great to see you.
So good to see you again, Eugene.
Charlie, you and I have known each other and worked together now for several years, but for those of us who may not be familiar with you, tell me a little bit more about your coaching practice. What brought you to this world, and what did you do before you were a business coach?
Yeah, before I was a business coach, I was in the tech world, scaling up SaaS, cloud, and AI companies. Spent about 35 years doing it. And along the way, I managed to get myself pretty burned out. So I actually became a coach because I realized that people in tech companies and all different types of companies need a trusted advisor to just help them see things more clearly and help them implement methods of being successful.
And so, what really that desire to help people, I presume, is what pulled you into the world of business coaching. What is the greatest sort of benefit or joy that you get out of being a business coach and working with leaders and leadership teams?
Well, first, it's thrilling because anybody that started a business or is succeeding in business is very bright, very talented. They tend to be very ambitious people. So it's kind of a high to get to interact with them and to meet them wherever they're finding themselves blocked, and then to help them figure out how to solve that problem. So I really enjoy that part of just helping people get over that hump by using a
Yeah,
little of my experience and a lot of the methods that we talk about working with systems like Align.
it's really interesting you mentioned that. So you're talking about working with people who are very driven, who have a vision, who see themselves doing something and having an impact. But obviously, they must have some blocker, which is the reason they might seek out the services and the help of a business coach. And I'm just curious, when you first start working with a leadership team or a business owner, an individual leader, what are some of the most common issues that you tend to uncover pretty quickly?
It's interesting. Businesses have life cycles of learning, growth, scaling up, and eventually a decline. And there are really predictable bottlenecks that all business goes through. Revenue milestones usually correspond to staffing milestones and the number of managers that you have. So the biggest thing that I see regularly are leaders that want to scale up their organization and have to add that next level of management, and then have those people treat the employees or clients as well as they would treat them themselves. And that's sometimes a cultural issue and sometimes it's a training issue, but it's a hard issue that keeps most businesses from growing as fast as they want to.
And I know that one of the things that you're really passionate about is sort of this dichotomy or this kind of balance between mindset and mental fitness as a business owner, a business leader, a C-suite executive. Do you mind telling us, is there a difference between mindset and mental fitness?
Well, they're interchangeable. So,
Okay.
for the benefit of the audience, you and I have been working together for years, implementing Align technologies into many of my accounts. And what we find is that for various reasons, sometimes we have owners or leaders of businesses or their direct staff that come into the weekly meetings never having accomplished what they set out to do. And what we find out is that a lot of times it's just because they're hijacked. They're overwhelmed with the stress and the pace of change. I think we all deal with that. So mindset is very much about the attitude that you go into life with. But mental fitness is a little bit, or mental health is a little bit different than that in the sense that sometimes there are real issues in our brain which, cause us to, you know, need to get help from outside methods, whether it's therapy or a business coach or somebody to help you through those sticking points that we have with our behavior.
So it almost sounds like that even for those very driven executives and CEOs that you're working with, they may have a brilliant strategy, but there may still be a sort of mental obstacle or a mental hurdle that needs to be overcome for the success of the business. Is that true?
Absolutely. You've heard of things like the imposter syndrome. Sometimes leaders, even though they know they're very deserving, they still feel like they feel hesitant to correct employees that may have a more advanced degree or maybe a specialist in a certain area. So they put that thought in their head, and then instead of having a corrective action conversation or a coaching conversation, they kind of punt it down the road because of that mindset issue in their head. And that's really common.
Charlie, you've just hit upon my imposter syndrome as a podcaster, working on this podcast with coaches. But no, we'll move past that because
Well,
one.
you're not an imposter. You would never guess that you've never been put in jail for bad podcast.
But anyway, so I know that you have a particular framework that you like to use with your coaching clients called positive intelligence. Will you tell us a little bit more about that?
So, positive intelligence is one of the world's largest coaching system. It's derived from the New York Times best-selling book by the same name. It basically talks about 10 basic self-defense mechanisms called saboteurs that we all have to some degree. All of us have something called the judge, and then we have accomplice saboteurs. Mine happen to be I'm a hyperachiever. I am a hyper vigilant. I'm always worried about trying to prevent things from going wrong, and I'm restless. I'm never satisfied, even on vacation. But there's other ones like the avoider, the people pleaser. These are these are personality types that we all see. So positive intelligence is a combination of the book and it actually comes with a phone app that teaches people about mental fitness, mental health, perf performance optimization of the brain, and it comes with lessons and daily exercises that help you rewire your brain for good health. and team
It's in,
health.
it's interesting. What makes me think immediately is if you're in a job interview and someone asks you, what are some of your strengths and what are some of your weaknesses? You could say, well, I'm a hyper achiever and I'm relentless as, sort of weaknesses that are also very positive. So,
Mhm.
how is it that someone could be a hyper achiever or someone could be relentless in the pursuit of excellence? And yet that still be sort of a negative connotation as a saboteur.
The hyperachiever is a self-defense mechanism that we use to justify our being with other people. And in the beginning, in my early career, it worked to my advantage. It gave me the motivation to try really hard and to stay in the office late. But as year after year of achievement happened, I started overusing it. And then I started becoming almost a micromanager with other people. And, my emotional intelligence actually went from being very high. It started actually diminishing bit as I overused that self-defense mechanism.
It's interesting. You mentioned emotional intelligence. So certainly, I would think that most of our audience is familiar with IQ. Then there's
Mhm.
also EQ, which is that emotional quotient. Positive intelligence has something called PQ. Is that correct? And what is the difference between PQ and what we know of as IQ and EQ?
So IQ is a general calibration of a person's intelligence, their computing power. EQ is an emotional intelligence measurement that really measures your ability to understand how you're feeling and to regulate it, and how you can see how other people are feeling in circumstances and regulating it. And it's overall bound by motivation. PQ is actually um, a fitness exercise that you do using the positive intelligence mechanism, and it's like a little mini meditation. You see, when we're really, really stressed, say we're judging someone else or we're judging a situation as bad, the cortisol in our brain starts spiking, and other people can actually see it in our faces. And and then they become defensive. So you have two people mirroring each other, escalating a situation that shouldn't be that bad. PQ is a way of using your senses, your touch, your sight, your taste, your feel for heat or feeling how you sit, you're sitting in a chair. And you can do a mini exercise in your brain for 10 seconds that will interrupt that cortisol production and start reproducing dopamine in our brain. So the whole positive intelligence program is about using PQ exercises to rewire your brain so that you start becoming calmer and performing better.
Interesting. So the PQ is kind of the way to reset when you are encountering the saboteurs that generally you are subject to. I'm just curious, is there a most common saboteur that you have found in business leaders? You said we all have the judge, but
Mhm.
is there another saboteur that's kind of the most common that you've found in people who are leading organizations, leading high functioning teams?
Well, it's funny since I deal in the tech world and with very driven executives, the hyperachiever, the hypervigilant, the restless is super common. I don't know which ones statistically, uh, are most prevalent in it by any industry, but you'll definitely run into those a lot in tech. And
Okay.
the pleaser is common. And what's amazing is how common the avoider is. Like when we were talking about before about uh, your imposter syndrome keeping you from taking corrective action with an employee, that's the avoider speaking. The avoider makes it feel more comfortable to avoid a corrective action conversation, when indeed your stress level actually goes down when you've had a conversation with an employee in a constructive way. You stop worrying about it.
So, as I understand PQ from what you just described, you go through the exercise of doing positive intelligence and the assessment in order to identify your particular individual saboteurs. And then you use PQ exercises to sort of reset your brain to counteract those saboteurs that might be affecting you. My question is, what happens now in a team environment. So we all have our individual saboteurs, but what about the collective mental fitness of a sales team or of a leadership team? How do those individual saboteurs and the way that we counteract them affect maybe a team's performance rather than just individual performance?
I should mention, you and I have talked in the past about the saboteur assessment for individuals, but Positive Intelligence, the company, also has a free assessment that anybody can take. I'll provide it in the notes for this conversation that literally measures the relative positive emotion versus negative emotion that individuals or teams feel. So I often start an engagement by giving the entire team a test, and we come up with a team PQ score for the team. And anything that is less than, like 60, 63 is like really good. But most teams that I give today score in the 20s to 30s. It means that they're having a lot of conflict, heated conversations, absenteeism, just people not getting it, not hearing each other. So when we start the program, we measure the team's PQ level, and then we measure it 6 weeks later at the end of the first segment when they've gone through the basic learning process. I should say that PQ comes in a full year program. So the first 6 weeks, each weekend, the people get about 50 minutes worth of lessons on brain chemistry and performance best science, and they learn about the saboteurs and the sage brain that drives good performance. And then after you finish the first 6 weeks, then there's individual learning and a daily mental fitness gym that individuals and teams use together. And then it even comes with team coaching programs that I deploy where once a month we meet to work on an issue like high bandwidth communication, time management, priority, energy management. That works really good with Align. When we're setting priorities, we also try to align to people and identify the people that get the energy from doing the tasks that no one wants to do. It might be like the accounting or the reporting or things like that. The funny thing about delegation is the things that the owner of a business usually hates doing, there's people on the team that love to do those very same tasks. So we try to figure that out in the workshops.
And so, Charlie, for those teams that are committed to this and do the work, over the course of, say, an entire year, what are some of the clear benefits and changes that you've seen inside of organizations that do this type of work?
Well, first off, across all the people that have ever participated in the program, Positive Intelligence, measures the results, and 91% of people feel like they manage stress better after 6 weeks, and about 84% of the participants say that they manage conflict better. And about 90% feel that the system gives them better EQ.
Awesome. And obviously, that can have a huge impact on the way teams perform, the way teams communicate, the way teams actually get work done, and sort of hopefully grow and scale the business when it's a much better performing machine that's driving the engine. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Um,
and I usually when I speak on these topics around the country, actually, 41% of workers today say that they report that they're feeling stressed out in their jobs every day, and 66% of leaders feel burned out at least sometimes. So burnout and stress is a major issue impacting performance across our economy.
Awesome. And we're going to include, as Charlie mentioned, we're going to link a PQ assessment in the episode notes. And if you complete that assessment, you'll then get a report on your individual saboteurs. And Charlie has even been nice enough to offer 15-minute sessions. We'll include a Calendly link where he can actually go over the report and give you some additional analysis. Charlie, we like to end this podcast with some fun questions. What's a book that you're recommending to clients and business leaders right now?
oh, yeah, the one I like to use is focus on this. It's about time management, and it gets into that play of measuring every task that you do based on your proficiency and your proficiency and how much you like doing it. And it gets you thinking ahead of the tasks that you have to, the things you have to get good at to get to the next level of your profession as an organization or individually. So focus on this.
Awesome. Favorite place to visit in the world?
France, and we're going to buy a house there this summer.
Oh, wow. All right. Hopefully I'll get an
Yeah.
invitation. And then my favorite question, name one musical artist or band, this could be dead or alive, that you have never seen live in concert that you wish you could.
You know what? I never saw the Rolling Stones.
You still can. They're still on tour. As a matter of fact, I just heard that they're putting out a new album. So there's still opportunity to do so.
That's pretty amazing that those guys are going out and getting them.
I know. Well, that's what we're hoping to do is to continue to do this for as long as they are doing it and being at the top of their game. Charlie, always a pleasure speaking with you. For those of you who would like to learn more about Charlie, you can go to his website, which is Charlie Janes, Janes dot focal point coaching, all one word, .com. So again, Charlie Janes dot focalpointcoaching.com. As we said, we will make that PQ assessment link available in the episode notes, and we hope that you've enjoyed this conversation and learned a little bit more about positive intelligence, about PQ, and about making sure that you and your team are have good mental fitness and mindset so that you can achieve more as an organization moving forward. Charlie, always a pleasure. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Eugene. It was really fun talking to you today.
Be well.
You too.